Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to this regular called meeting of the Temple City Council for November 7th, 2024. Please rise Deputy City Secretary Liz Caraway will lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge from Jan Llewellyn.
Heavenly Father, tonight I come to you in prayer, not only for our city and community, but for our state, nation, and world. We know that governing a nation, a city, or even a community board is no easy task. Whether it's navigating local public policy or global level dealings, the task our leaders before us face is truly unprecedented in today's time. God, thank you for helping us realize that the people who serve these positions are real humans with real lives, and also experience the ordinary limitations of the human condition like each of us do. For that reason, I thank you, Lord, for allowing me the opportunity to pray for all leaders, especially those here tonight, just as the Apostle Paul called us to do in 1 Timothy. Jesus, may you lift up and guide the decision-making that is happening before us this evening. Give our council and city leaders the courage to learn, to witness, to speak up, and to speak out. Help them to connect with their fellow citizens and commit to their well-being, even in difficult circumstances. Almighty God, I ask you to strengthen them with integrity and character to act righteously with the overall good of the community in mind. Gracious God, I pray for effective governance. I pray that all decisions and policy making would be done decently and in order. Let all aspects and organizations of government, from local to national to world, operate efficiently and fulfill the intended purpose of a government in society. Also pray for wisdom in budgeting and financial stewardship. Give our leaders on every level of government logic, common sense, and insight in navigating the difficult and often complex decisions before them. It's in your name I pray, Lord. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both very much. Now is the time for public comments. Any citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may do so, as long as you signed up prior to this meeting. Public comments will be received during this portion. We ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Watch the screens to watch the timer on the countdown. And please understand also that no discussion or final action will be taken by the city council. We have a couple of folks that have signed up tonight. Mr. Lytle, if you would please step to the podium and state your name after I just stated your name.
Yes, for the record, my name is Alan Lytle. I live here in Temple. And let me start out with apologizing that I didn't make it to the workshop in time to give this comment there, which is where I really wanted to do it, because it's about the consent agenda item G. The bird spikes underneath the 3rd Street Bridge. Great idea. I really like it, but I'm afraid all that's going to do is make a move, possibly over here to the, they're not going to go very far either. They're not going to leave town. They're going to come possibly over here to City Hall, in the trees in City Hall, and your cars are going to end up worse than playground under the 3rd Street Bridge. So that was what I wanted to say there. In the workshop, Justin made a fantastic presentation about solid waste, but in my opinion, he kind of skipped over the delay screen that he had. I would live in the part of Temple that Thursday is my pickup day, and it's been many times the boys have had to come work till 7, 8 o'clock at night, and now of course it's going to be dark on them, and come back on Saturday. So I really appreciate the dedication and the effort that the solid waste guys have made for us. Finally, tomorrow, 11:30, Santa Fe Veterans Day ceremony. Please come. And then next Friday, the 15th, at 7 o'clock, Coffee with a Cop at Bella Blues, and bring a toy for the Blue Santa. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Alan. Next is Dan Kaser. Dan?
Dan Kaser, lifelong Temple resident. Paul Harvey used to come on and say, now we know the rest of the story. And it's been a mystery to me since Brian Chandler and Lynn Barrett came up next to me going up that aisle and said, you've got to get those two buildings, which are legal in your backyard, out of there. And I said, I'm not going to. And Brian Chandler said, you're going to see what the city can do to you. And so I didn't know who was behind it. And so then whenever I'd set the foundation down in the building, two inspections came. The inspector came, looked foundation, said, did a wonderful job, looked at the building, and he had relayed to Ms. Barrett what a good, solid building my duplex was. Somehow those inspections mysteriously disappeared out of the computer system, but Lynn remembered and she told the truth. And so I asked that inspector when I called him on the third one, he said, oh, they said, can't inspect this anymore. And I said, well, what's wrong with the building? He said, nothing. But all I can tell you is I can't tell you who, somebody's mad at you and doesn't like you. And so the other day in the trial, there was 32 criminal trials filed against me on my building, which was legally there, legally permitted. I followed all the rules. And the jury came back with 32. I don't know if it's 32 or 52. They sent 52 not guilties, but on that anyway, during the trial, Barbara Morgan-Roth and Lynn Barrett, who I believe were like second down from Brian Chandler and Brian Kosel, they told the truth. I mean, Barbara Morgan-Roth said that Jessica Walker did not like Dan Kaser. I think because I'm the one who went to state and got that ordinance the city had for requiring you to have Hardy Board, because she made mention of that one time that, I had the exclusive dealership for Hardy Board at the time, and then the buildings. And so she was hesitant to say who it was there at the trial, but she just said a councilwoman. And finally, my attorney asked, well, can you name who it was? And she said, she's sitting right, behind you. It's Councilwoman Jessica Walker, who is supposed to be my councilwoman representing my best interest. She said that Jessica Walker had called Brian Chandler and said that if he wanted to, keep working there, he's going to find a way to revoke the permits on my duplex across town, which they did, not lawfully. And so with the city of Temple, under Kathy Davis's careful, guidance, the reason Colleen fired her, one of the council members, advised me they asked her to leave because, her ethics. And so that's saying something for Colleen. They started filing criminal charges on me. I was facing $60,000, whatever it was. And anyway, the jury saw it. And the jury, even despite the fact that Kathleen Parsons was about the most, all you can say is unethical for anything that was a judge. I was a judge for 10 years. And what she did was indespicable, but the jury still came back with all the not guilties. So I think that, Jessica Walker needs to resign. I mean, the money how much have they spent on her retaliation against me? Brian Chandler, I mean, hell, he can't, he's unethical, and she still got the same old grin there. But anyway, I know the rest of the story. They came back with not guilties on everything, that, I had permits, that the building is not illegal. And, basically this showed again, how corrupt some of the city council members can be.
OJ was also found not guilty.
Yeah. And you're
So-
we're improper. You're an idiot.
Well, thank you. And your storytelling is is wonderful. I love it every time. Okay. Yeah, you got it. Moving on is special recognitions. Today, we will recognize the 2024 Corporate Challenge winners. Leah Anderson, there she is.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your time tonight. This year marked the 13th year that the Corporate Challenge, or that we ran the Corporate Challenge program. This program ran from September 3rd to October 26th and consisted of 2 divisions and 13 different sporting events, where companies throughout our community battled it out in mostly friendly competition. This year we had 19 companies participate for a total of 2,124 participants, 314 of which were City of Temple employees. That's a 35% increase over last year of employee participation. In order to make this program a success, countless hours are dedicated from our Parks and Recreation team. We've got some of them here: Josh Laudig, Lydia Harris, Austin Chick, and Tracy Klusacek. And they served as lead staff members and worked hard to ensure that everything went smoothly with this program. I'm thankful to have them on my team, and I'm excited to have them here tonight to help present our winners for the Corporate Challenge. For Division 1, in 3rd place is HEB with 385 points. In 2nd place is Texel with 657.5 points. And in 1st place is the City of Temple with 741 points. I'd like to invite Mayor Davis to come and accept the trophy on behalf of all City and Temple employees. And we would also like to invite any City of Temple employees tonight to come down and take a photo. Go ahead. Yes, go present it here. Oh, yes. I think I forgot to ask last year to have the employees go down, so it's a little bit.
Good, Susan.
Thank you.
Back up.
And then for Division 2, in 3rd place, we had MTC with 425.5 points. In 2nd place was Stratasys with 507 points. And in 1st place is the MRB group with 762.5 points. Accepting the award is Ariana McKeska, who is the Architectural Design Tech with MRB. And we would also like to invite any MRB group employees in attendance to come take a photo.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you to all of our participating companies and especially to our city leadership for supporting Parks and Recreation programs like these.
All right. Moving on is the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and may be elected in one motion. Council, during workshop, we discussed the consent agenda and decided that nothing would be pulled. So unless that is changed, council, I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda, which is items 4A through 4AF.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 4A through 4AF.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Walker. Council, please cast your vote. The consent agenda passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to the next item, items 5 and 6 will be read in together. Item 5 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a rezoning from single-family dwelling 3 district to general retail on 0.148 plus or minus acres out of a 13.749 acre tract located in the Maximo Merino Survey, abstract number 14 in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, generally located at west of the intersection of Case Road and southeast HK Dodge and Loop, identified as appraisal district ID number 40068. And item 6 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a rezoning from general retail district to single-family dwelling 3 on 0.602 plus or minus acres out of 13.749 acre tract located in the Maximo Merino Survey, abstract number 14 in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, generally located west of the intersection of Case Road and southeast HK Dodge and Loop, identified as appraisal district number 40068. Mr. Chandler.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. And so this is within the South Point subdivision. So you can see right along Loop 363 and just to the south of Case Road. And here's what the site looks like, but also the single-family residential portion of the neighborhood. And so this is a fairly simple case. If you look at the plat on the right, you can see in yellow a couple residential lots that have some general retail zoning on it. So in order to build homes on those, you need to rezone, but there's also a sliver of the general retail that is zoned single family 3. So somewhat of a swap of zoning districts. Lot 37, the general retail is proposed for retail use. And then the lots 28 and 29 for single family, as I mentioned. And so just looking at the comprehensive plan, residential and neighborhood service is this area. And so certainly that is compliant. And looking at the thoroughfare plan, no conflict. Mobility master plan, same. Trails master plan and sidewalk ordinance doesn't really apply except for a future trail along Loop 363. Notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet, and that included 16 property owners. On the first one, on the sliver from general retail to single family 3, and then 13 on the other tract. We did receive one response for the second one to the right. You can see on your screen, and that response was received in opposition, but after the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, you can see it's a neighbor to the south, also single family 3 zone. So honestly, not sure what the concern was. So staff and Planning and Zoning Commission at their October 10th meeting recommend approval. They voted 6-0 for that recommendation to you all for approval of both zoning cases. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, anything for Mr. Chandler? Nothing? All right, we're going to do one public hearing on item 5 and 6 combined. So if anybody would like to comment or ask questions about that, we ask you please step to the podium and state your name for the record or raise your hand on the virtual platform. This is for items 5 and 6 public hearing. Nothing? Okay. Nothing, nobody from the audience. All right, there being no one to participate in the public hearing, I will close the public hearing on both items 5 and 6. In council, I'll entertain a motion on item number 5.
I move to approve item number 5.
Second. We have a motion by Councilmember Grant. We have a second by Councilmember Pilkington. Council, please cast your vote. Item 5 passes 5 votes to 0. Council, if there's no further discussion or anything for Mr. Chandler, I'll entertain a motion on item 6.
Approve item 6 as present.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Pilkington, a second by Councilmember Grant. Council, please cast your vote. Item 6 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 7 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit to allow retail sales of all alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption at 2204 West Avenue M, Suite A, City of Temple, Bell County, Texas. Mr.
Hi.
Deckman.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. As you see on the screen, this is first reading, went to P and Z on October 21st. This is for a conditional use permit for a liquor store, as the code calls it, a package store. So you see this is in the neighborhood along Avenue M and 43rd Street, the Temple Heights neighborhood. And as you see on the aerial photo, it's a fairly new retail building that just went up in the last year with the large parking area in the front. And you see some of the aerial for the surrounding homes and businesses. So as you can see in the photos, it is a new building recently constructed. They had already put up the sign and opened for business when staff became aware and instructed them to apply for the conditional use permit, which is why we're here tonight. As you can see by the other photos, that most of Avenue M in that section is fairly commercial. There's cabinet shops, tire shops, auto sales. And as you go up 43rd Street, then you get into the residential part of the neighborhood. If the power goes out, I'll continue to give this by memory in the dark. I'll do my best. So as we showed you on the photo of the liquor store, that is at the top of the screen on the site plan. It is 2 parts of the building. One is a convenience store that does have beer and wine sales, which is compliant with the zoning. This is just for the conditional use permit for the liquor store on the top of the site plan. They've already got their TABC permit. They're not within any 300-foot distance as per chapter 4. The question came up at P and Z, so provided the distance to the nearest uses that would be considered protected. So they're 900 and 1,100 feet away. It is within the Temple Heights neighborhood plan. So that intersection is 2 neighborhood collectors, and it was intended for retail uses, but more neighborhood serving, retail, personal service uses, maybe restaurants. And it is a key connection, even though it's outside the 300 feet. It's a key pedestrian connection to Scott Elementary. It's and we'll talk a little bit about the neighborhood plan later. But keep in mind that photo showing the aerial photo showing the parking area in the front with the building to the back, and it's located in Temple ISD. So on the public notification, 23 notices were sent out to owners within 200 feet. We did receive 4 notices back in disagreement. Those are shown on the map. 2 of the residents had come to the public hearing and spoke against the case. And the newspaper printed notice of the public hearing on October 16th. So all conditional use permits come to council for the evaluation of whether or not they're compatible with the surrounding uses, whether they're detrimental to the neighborhood or offensive or contrary to public health and safety. And the permittee must demonstrate that granting the permit would not be detrimental to the public welfare, not create a nuisance. And the site development plan accompanies the ordinance. If council determines after granting a CUP that a nuisance exists, council can revoke a conditional use permit. So in terms of compliance with the criteria that we evaluate conditional use permits, it's not compatible with the neighboring property. We relied heavily on input from the neighbors, and with the neighborhood plan, looked at what came out during the neighborhood plan surveys. There was comments about public safety and crime was a factor. Is also the built structure of the building, where the neighborhood plan identified this as more of a neighborhood service walkable retail corridor with the buildings pushed to the front of the street and parking in the back. And this doesn't match what the neighborhood plan asked for. So after some review, staff had determined that this is not compatible with the neighborhood plan and not compatible with the neighborhood property. But as far as the remaining criteria, the answer is yes, that it doesn't impede other normal development. There is access, drainage, utilities, doesn't impede movement of traffic. And there's sufficient landscaping and screening. Again, it was a brand new building, and the only criteria that's not compatible is that neighborhood plan. So staff's really leaning heavily on that. So based on the citizen comments during the public hearing at P and Z, input received during that Temple Heights neighborhood plan, staff recommends disapproval of the requested conditional use permit to allow alcohol sales at 2204 West Avenue M. At the October 21st meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-1 to recommend disapproval of the requested conditional use permit. Section 2.4.4 of the Unified Development Code requires that if council wishes to overrule the P and Z recommendation and approve this request, that a 75% vote is required. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Council, anything for Mr. Deckman? Any questions? At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so as you step to the podium or raise your hand on the virtual platform. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right up here.
Good evening, councilman. Basically, we're trying to open a.
State your name, please, sir.
Hi, I'm Vivek Bandari. I'm the accountant of the business owners that are trying to get this business running.
Okay.
And so basically, as he showed you the picture of the new building, the landlord, they developed 2 new suites, one for a convenience store, one for a liquor store. And basically, he's trying to develop something up there. Like at that part of town, there hasn't really been that many businesses, new businesses coming in and stuff. So any type of new business would help the city, help the neighborhood. And as far as neighborhood goes, we got a couple of people here from the neighborhood right behind our the store, and they're here to support. They're here to support, saying they're okay with the liquor store being built there. And a lot of times, whenever you give out letters to ask for people's vote and stuff, a lot of people don't respond. Only the people with like very polarizing ones, they tend to respond. So a lot of people that say no, but there's also a lot of people that'll be okay with there being a liquor store built there. And we got 4 or 5 members of the community coming in. And we also have a neighbor. Here's Alex. He lives right behind the store where it's about to be built. And we got the next door convenience store owners here to show their support. So if you have any questions for him,
Good evening, I'm Mr. Hunt. And it seemed to be in a good place. It's not a bad neighborhood. Like I heard the word of crime. It's not much crime around there, nothing like that. And then it's convenient, and then you don't have to drive way out to other areas. It's close and it's walking distance. And, people like that. You have what, 1, 2, 3, you probably have about 4 stores, 5 stores in Temple that sell liquor. And the zoning area, there's no churches or anything around there, that's prohibiting, as far as what you call zoning, if I'm correct. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't see no problem with people as far as like, 7-Elevens, where people are laying up on the side of the buildings, begging for money, which, that's their right if they let them be there. The store is always clean. It's always open. It's always convenient. And that area right there is nice. There's no businesses up there that could be sabotaged by crime. Unless somebody came there and tried to, rob them. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a good place for it. It's not hurting anything. You don't have a high crime. If you probably looked and estimated the crime in that area, you probably find it 0 to none. Because it's businesses, but it's not a business that people gonna want to go in there and break in or something like that. There's no money there. It's just convenience. I'll stand down.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
thank you, sir. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
I'm Dan Kaser again. Yeah, I think they've got liquor stores spattered all over Temple, and there's no more. If you want to see people begging for money, go in front of the post office. They harass you every time you walk in. But I think it'd be a good idea to have the liquor store, the neighborhood liquor store there, because that keeps people from getting in the car and driving across town. And, you know, it's like he said, it's convenience, and it's not gonna hurt anything over there.
Thank you.
Hi, Alice Grutch. I am 68 years old and I live in Temple, Texas. When I bought my house years ago, I did not buy a house next to a liquor store. What single woman wants to live next to a liquor store? I have experienced problems since the convenience store opened, which sells alcohol and paraphernalia. As well as has gambling machines. On 2 different nights, someone entered my fenced yard and tried to steal a wagon from a shed. They were scared away by my 3 small barking dogs, thankfully. The dogs are alerted many times a night to strangers using the alley to the 24-hour store. I felt it necessary to put up a tall, non-see-through fence in fear of my dogs getting shot. That fence cost me $700. I know things would get worse if a liquor store opened next to me. They are already loitering and sitting on the sidewalk between the convenience store and the liquor store. I live alone and do not want to live in fear. I am older and have a heart condition. A liquor store erodes a neighborhood and brings down property values. I did not choose to buy a place next to a liquor store. Please don't make me live next door to a liquor store. I do not want to live in fear.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Nobody on the virtual platform? Okay, council, if, I'm sorry, I'll, now close the public hearing. If, anybody have anything for Mr. Deckman
I
before
do.
we, yes, ma'am.
One question. Jason, could you go back to the last slide you had and make it clear what 75%, what it is the vote is exactly?
So
What a motion might be. The last slide you had,
Yeah.
I'm
we
not
get
being
there.
articulate.
It
I'm
would
sorry.
be 4 out of 5 or
No, I know
unanimous.
that part.
Hang on, we lost our. There we go, right there.
It's to overturn.
To overturn.
That's all, that was my only point.
If you have if you want to approve, you can move to approve, and it would take a vote of 4 out of 5. If you move to disapprove, it takes a vote of 3.
And that would be staying with what P and Z had done.
A motion to disapprove.
Is the
would be
staying,
consistent
thank you, that was my question. I was completely not clear. Appreciate it, Kathy. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Council, anything else?
I got a question. It's not particularly about the liquor, but that building on the drawings they have here, it's got a dumpster on the side and no drive-through, and in the picture, it's got a drive-through right through the dumpster. Did that get changed? I'm just curious. That left picture of the dumpster in the bottom right corner there with the
That may have been modified after during or after the permit.
picture looks like a dumpster just sitting out there on the side of the building.
Mhm. And I don't know if I've got a picture or if it's visible, and someone could correct me from my site visit.
Yeah, the top right.
Dumpsters it's
That
behind the
top right
building to
corner
the
right
top,
there is
right?
kind of sticking out.
Yes, sir.
It should be there. It's actually on the liquor store side.
No.
And the driveway entrance is moved down so that they can do drive-through, which is not on your plans.
Right.
That was my only.
Yeah, and we had asked them
Observation.
during the application where they're gonna have the drive-through for the liquor store, and they said no. And you and I had talked about, during workshop, the drive-through on the convenience store side, but that's not physically connected with the liquor store. They're permitted to have the drive-through for the convenience store.
Council, anything else? Nothing? All right, so I have closed the public hearing, and council, I'll entertain a motion on item number 6. Oh, I'm sorry, 7. Council?
So I will make a motion to disapprove.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Walker. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, please cast your vote. The motion to disapprove item 7 carries 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 8 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit to allow retail sales of all alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption located at Epic Subdivision, Block 001, Lot 0001 in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 2940 South 31st Street. Mr. Deckman.
All right, good evening again. This liquor store, coincidentally enough, these two followed the same schedule. The difference being this one is located down on 31st Street. It's directly behind the large H-E-B at the little strip center that's in front on the 31st Street side. And specifically, as you see on the aerial photo on the right, we put a hash mark over the suite where that package store would be located. So I've highlighted in yellow on the photo, but you can see on that strip center, there's a couple restaurants. There's some, I think it's a nail salon or a beauty parlor that's in there, number of uses.
Oh, okay. Where they're wanting to put this liquor store is a family-oriented area. You know, as you said, restaurant, Subway, Taco Bell. I know it's retail, but really, most of the liquor stores we have in Temple are either standalone or with one or two other businesses that are not family-oriented. So I'd really not like to see a family-oriented area like this end up with a liquor store. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Dan Kaser again, it's just the opposite of what the other one was. The other one was in a neighborhood to where the people could use it. This is in a highly congested area, and a lot of people, that means that a lot of these people can be driving, and a lot of people decide to go get one more bottle after they're intoxicated, and there's enough, danger driving in that area with sober people. Also, those apartments down there by, it's lined with those apartments where there's a high level of substance abuse. And so those people are going to be coming across the street. I've seen it in New York. I've seen it in other towns. So it's going to make it even more dangerous for them to walk across the street to go to the liquor store. And like the gentleman said a minute ago, that's pretty much a family orientated shopping center. You can eat, you can go to, HEB. And I just think, between the traffic, the people, and I can't call the name of those apartments, but I know everybody knows them.
How about the ones across from Scott and White behind Panera?
No, well, you've got those, and then you've got the low end ones up by Sam's.
Meadow Bend.
Meadow, yeah, and there's a high substance. I mean, there's, let's just face it, a lot of drugs and alcohol come out of there. I get a lot of cases out of there, and they're going to be coming across 31st Street to get to it. And I know they've got that Twin Liquors over there close to it, but liquor stores when that close get into price wars. And so when the price is cheaper over by HEB, they're going to be crossing 31st. I just think it's a bad idea to put it there.
Thank you, Dan. Anybody else? Anybody on the platform? Okay, very good. Then I will close the public hearing and council entertain a motion on item number 8.
I'll make a motion to approve item 8 as presented.
Second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Walker. Council, please cast your vote. Item 8 passes 5 votes to 0. Item 9 is a first reading of public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the tax increment financing reinvestment zone number 1 financing and project plans to align with master plans, which include adjusting revenues, operating expenditures, and public improvements for the year's fiscal year 2024 through fiscal year 2062. Ms. Bernard.
The process of amending the financing plan, or one of the processes we go through, is once we receive the certified values from the appraisal district, we review those. We work with the project and finance committee, try to review project scope, delivery timing, update our opinion of cost, and then try to make sure we can align funding with project delivery. And we have done that this year, met with the project committee, the finance committee have had joint meetings. And then this amendment was presented to the Reinvestment Zone Board of Directors yesterday morning yesterday afternoon for your approval too. Just looking quickly through at the increment revenues that's comes through the reinvestment zone. The total tax levy this year was 36.7 million. And out of that, 52% comes from Temple ISD, a little over 23% from City of Temple. Bell County contributes 12.2%, and Temple College 7.8%. And then you see on down the list, Troy ISD, Belton ISD, and Elm Creek Flood Control District. Another look at the certified values for the reinvestment zone for the City of Temple. Looking at the composition of that value, little over 51% is industrial properties, little over 20% commercial, 10.2% of multifamily, and 13.3% residential. And on down the list, we are seeing a lot more residential and multifamily development within the reinvestment zone. Looking at the values for the state code over historically or over the past 4 years, you can see the largest category of industrial property, and again, this is for the city of Temple, is just right under $700 million. And then I wanted to highlight the multifamily at 139 million and residential values at 182 million. And look at from FY 22 to FY 25, the values have doubled, and a lot of that's from new development. And also each year when we go through and get the certified values, we look at based on the certified values for that current year, we forecast revenues through 2062. That's part of the requirements of the plan. And here on this table, we see that 2025, compared to the year before, revenue increased about 6.2 million. But compared to our existing plan, the increase is a little over 4.2 million. That's the fourth column, and we forecast that on out through the life of the plan through 2062. And then getting into the proposed amendment, we look at the revenue. I just wanted to highlight a few of the revenues or source of funds. This amendment includes adding the increment revenue based on the certified values for FY 25, and then adjusting the future years based on the estimates on the chart I just showed you before. It also includes adding revenue or proceeds from the sale of land of 3.5 million and 16.4 million. We add revenue related to a grant revenues of 15 million. Mr. Deckman had a lot to do, or helped us get those for Veterans Memorial Boulevard, the 10 million and $5 million grant, and then some 5 million non-increment revenue for a total of 20 million. And then we have various project savings that we've swept in to use to fund different projects. And again, this shows the source of fund by year. I won't go through all of that. Project expenditure highlights that this amendment includes, and this for these projects, they span over about a 5-year period, but it includes funding for Friars Creek Regional Detention Pond of 9.5 million, Veterans Memorial Boulevard funding for that for a little over 19,385,000, and that's from the Temple College Apartments north up, hopefully all the way to Avenue O. And then it also includes an allocation for Old Howard Road, road drainage and utility improvements. We added 5.6 million to the existing budget for a total construction budget for that project of 12.9 million. It included adding funding for a change order for the outer loop from Windland to I-35, added a little over 2 million to the contingency. Pepper Creek Trail repair, funding was added to repair that trail, design and dollars for the actual repair. We added money to get rail to Site 64 in the North Industrial Park of 1.2 million. And then aligning project readiness and delivery for South Temple Synergy Park waterline improvements, what we're calling Line A, which is from the water treatment plant all the way to 31st Street. It's 3 phases, a total of 24.7 million for that project. And then there's also an allocation for land acquisition of 7.7 million. Again, and this is in your packet. I show what years the net change goes, or is net change for each of these projects by year is in your packet, so I won't go through this. But just threw up some visuals on the detention pond, the Friars Creek detention pond. That is, I would say west of South 5th Street and south of Avenue U in the 10.1 acre site there. Veterans Memorial Boulevard improving that again from the Temple College apartments. Hopefully having enough funding to get it to Avenue O, and that will be done in 2 phases. First phase is to Avenue U, and the second phase would be through, again, hopefully up to Avenue R. The Old Howard Road improvements, phase 1, those are some improvements off the outer loop into in north of the outer loop in North Temple in the North Industrial Park. And then the South Temple water line, again, showing that getting from the water treatment plant all the way to 31st. And that also includes additional phases that will take it to Synergy Park. And that will be done in 3 phases. And then included also in this amendment is a fee for public safety, or we're calling it a public safety assessment fee from the reinvestment zone. It is each year, we're proposing this fee for 6 years from FY 2025 through 2030. Each year we will, once we receive the certified values, we'll calculate that. It'll be a calculation off of the residential, multifamily, and builders lots for the city of Temple that are within the reinvestment zone. And also we're recommending that this be restricted and dedicated to public safety. Ms. Myers, if you want to add anything related to that fee.
I would just say that we will bring back a resolution and talk more about the program in particular, but this would appropriate funding where we could establish that fee to help provide the critical public safety services that are needed to support those residential areas of growth within the reinvestment zone. And as council knows, the residential development is all real property. So at this point, those revenues flow directly into the reinvestment zone. And so this would allow us to capture some of that funding in order to help provide for police and fire services within those areas.
I know this amendment included a lot of moving parts on several years. It's accelerating some funding, adding project costs were updated and added funding. But as I said, the project and finance committees have worked closely on this and recommended approval to the board of directors, and they're recommending approval of this to you. Happy to address any questions related to the amendments.
All right, do you have anything else?
Other than to say Tracy and Melissa also worked very, very hard on this amendment, and I appreciate all the time. And Tracy mentioned it, but also wanted, I always, or I guess I never want to pass up an opportunity to shout out Jason and tell him how much we appreciate him for the work he does to get us grant money on veterans, you know, of that total $30 million project, which includes the detention pond, the offsite drainage needs that aren't really directly related to the project, but are needed to support that project, as well as other development and redevelopment in TMed. 20 million of that is coming from grant funds and non-local funds that Jason had a large hand in securing for us. So I always just like to call him out, especially when he's in the room.
I'm glad we don't have to pay him commission on that, right?
He does not get any
10%
commission,
or-
right? Yeah. So he just gets my eternal gratefulness. That's
Wish
all.
that in a quarter buys a cup of coffee somewhere, maybe. I don't know. Okay,
He
very
always
good.
works hard for us, but I think, you know, as Jason is a veteran, I think that to see Veterans Memorial Boulevard be improved, and we've been working on this project for years, and to see this come to fruition, I think will be a really exciting.
And it would have been hard to do it
improvement.
out of local funds.
It would have been. Mhm.
Had to do it about maybe a block
Virtually
at a time.
impossible.
Yeah, we're already breaking it up a little bit,
Yeah,
but but I think this is a total. I think by the time we're done to O, this we will have had 5 phases, because we've already had 2 phases, and then this project that Tracy just presented to you represents 3 additional phases. So even with all of that that non-local money, it's still a very large project, but very important. And having the pedestrian safety and just the access, Susan, you'll know and appreciate the drainage needs that
Right.
are in that corridor. And you know, and on a night like tonight, when I drive home down First Street in just a little bit, you know, it won't be unusual to find standing water in the roadway. So to have that addressed and safe passage to emergency facilities for veterans is going to be a great thing. So I appreciate the support for the project, and I'm looking forward to seeing it get underway finally.
Also, you
We
know,
appreciate our veteran Jason, can't speak tonight. Thank you.
council appreciates the extra work.
And
Correct.
truly, Tracy and Melissa have done a lot of work to get this. They always do, but this is one of the big financing plan amendments and lots of moving parts, and somehow they always make it all work.
They do. Very good.
Miracles.
Yep. Proud of them. All right, very good. This item is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item may do so. Same instructions as the other times. Please step to the podium or raise your hand. Anybody? Dan?
Dan Kaser again. I was just wondering, does the money, I didn't see, and it might have been already allocated at another time at a meeting I missed, but the Lord Troy Road, that when the city annexed them in 30 years ago, they promised they were gonna have that road widened and fixed and sewage, and it's still to date isn't done.
What road is that?
Lower Troy. And then also, you know, so the people are still suffering. They're having to, you know, do the tax and stuff for being in the city, but they don't have any services that were promised to them when they were annexed in. And then also, I don't know, there's a place on Nugent Avenue. I mean, there's a lot of streets. in
Dan, I don't
Temple.
mean to be a stickler,
Okay.
but public hearing is for the topic.
Okay,
that we're on.
I just think that, yeah, they need to allocate some money to do some of the promise they did a long time ago.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Lower
Kelly?
Troy Road is a funded project, but it's not within the reinvestment zone, so it wouldn't be included in this item. It's in our mobility transportation program.
Anybody? Okay. Anybody else in the audience? All right, very good. Then I will close the public hearing on item 9. And council, if you don't have anything else for Mr. Deckman, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll
Ask him
make
to
a
go get
motion-
more money.
What?
Tell him to go get more money.
Mayor, I'll make a
That's a
motion.
standing. That's standing. We don't have to tell him. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be funny
Okay.
up here.
I'll make a
We
motion.
forgot what you
Sorry.
Out of it today. I'll make a motion to approve item 9 as presented by Ms. Bernard.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Pilkington. Council, please cast your vote. Item 9 passes 5 votes to 0. And with that, we have finished our agenda. It is 6:06. Thank you all for attending. Stay dry, and this meeting is adjourned.